Hey, welcome to the Microsoft Spotlight podcast. Today we are joined by Isidora Katanic. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Got the name right. That's always a good start.
Yeah,
especially after a couple of episodes where we've got them kind of not quite right and then got into a bit of a laughing fit. So yeah.
Got completely the wrong name, which has happened.
Oh yes,
hasn't it, Andrew?
That happens.
Well, today's podcast is sponsored by BitTitan. So remember, go to bittitan.com today to see how you can migrate your data from one cloud to another, or cloud to cloud, or Google to Office 365, wherever. Check them out today, and thanks a lot for the sponsorship. So, Isidora, hey, how you doing?
Hi, John. Hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's really great to be part of it, and I'm very excited to have a chat with you today. I have to give you credits for pronouncing my name right, so well done.
That's it. It's gonna happen once. Don't second time, third time. It might slip a little bit.
I usually just say call me Issy because that's easy to remember, easy to pronounce.
Isidora was okay, I think. It was just the itch at the end of your surname. Make sure we got that down on lock for this. But yeah, would you like to give us a quick introduction? Kind of give us about who you are, and we'll go into why you're here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you already mentioned before, my name is Isidora Katanic, or just say Issy. I'm based in Switzerland. However, I'm born in ex-Yugoslavia. I grew up in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. And now since approximately 4+ years, I moved to the beautiful country of Switzerland. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I work at Experts Insight here in Switzerland as a community manager. Let me see what else. I'm the head of Experts Live Europe and Experts Live Switzerland, which are IT conferences focused on Microsoft tech. So basically everything I do in my job as well as private time kind of all leads back to the community.
And also, you forgot that you're a mother as well. Recently.
Absolutely, that's currently my my most important thing happening. Though, I became a mom of a daughter, Emilia. She's a little over 9 months now. So yeah, that's also, of course, a very important day and night job I have.
24/7 hour job that is parenting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's my youngest is now just over 2 now, so yeah, we're going through that not terrible 2 phase, but yeah, we kind of getting there.
Yeah.
So yeah, would you like to? So you said you work at
many Experts Insight.
Yeah, Experts Insight. So I'm looking at my notes well, it's the Experts Live, Experts Insight, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, they have nothing to do with each other, but they're both similar. So so I started at Experts Insight last year, October, which is actually right after my maternity leave ended. I started a new role. So there, as a community manager, of course, I'm involved in the community activities. So, for example, when we're going to conferences, which now are starting to get going again. So I'm very excited about some sponsorships that we have coming up where we will be present with the booth. But yeah, next to that, I also take care of our social media channels. Just make sure that Experts Insight is connected to the community and the other way around as well.
So yeah, as I said, is it a technical role? Kind of a bit of weird wording for me, I think. Is it a non-coding role? Is it a coding role? As you kind of said from our podcast with Holly, technical kind of, what does it mean nowadays? What is the tech industry? What is a job within the tech industry? It can be so many different things, and I think kind of the community role that you have is really interesting, because I think people the previous guests that we've had within Microsoft have had, Laurie has got a very good community face role. Quite a few of our ex guests have had quite a similar role. So kind of, how do you, I'm going to ask a bit of an outfield question, kind of how do you go to conferences? What's the day-to-day role for yourself?
Yeah, so I have well, let's say maybe nearly a decade of history with conferences, including back in the days Microsoft Tech Head, nowadays Microsoft Ignite, as well as conferences that I host myself, like Experts Live Switzerland or Experts Live Europe. And let's say pre-pandemic, I would not all the time, but often, very often, I would be at those conferences in different roles. So either one of the companies I used to work for would be a sponsor or exhibitor. So I would be there like staffing our booth, connecting our company with the community and so on. I've also been at conferences, of course, attending as a speaker, where I would present a session. And then, of course, you see a conference from a different perspective because you're there with a different purpose. But I also had opportunities just to attend the conference purely as an attendee. So really to attend sessions, to learn from the event, connect with other people. And I think no matter for what reason or purpose you go to an event, what for me is always most important is the networking and to meet people and to see old friends again. And I just cannot wait for for those times to come back. I don't know how conferences are going to look like now, but I cannot wait for them to start again, and especially my own events like Experts Live, where I can really be in the driver's seat to organize the event and to bring the community together. So yeah, I'm very excited for everything to slowly start up again.
Yeah, I think kind of the in-person events, obviously in the UK, started back up again last year. We had Comsverse and the South Coast Summit, which me and Andrew were both at as well. As you said, like networking is like so important. I don't think me and Andrew, like, except for our own session, I don't think we actually went to a session all day. We ended up
apart from our sponsors session, who was basically then like throwing sponsored balls, like softballs, at the speaker, which was quite interesting.
Spent most day playing Scalextrics, trying to get time and other bits of
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, when there's an expo hall or like an exhibition hall, I mean, that's of course what I believe is a great place to be, to meet people. And you don't always need to like sit in a breakout session to learn something. I also really think like from the networking, you also kind of roll into learning about new people, new technologies, visiting, for example, sponsors who show you demos. I think it's a very important place to be.
I say a lot of my connections I've made throughout like the community from attending events. You know, at the minute I'm working on a customer as a particular PowerShell script that some that I know basically created. So, you know, having that connection and networking allowed me to just message him and go, right, can I have a conversation about this? And we go, yeah, no problem. And then we had that talk and I got a better understanding of how PowerShell script worked before then trying to implement it for a customer. So, and I met him through a conference. And ever since then, just, you know, exchanged, you know, Twitter conversations now and then. So it is massively important. It's not just networking and
Absolutely.
get to meet people.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. And just like you said, like also from the people you meet, they can be so helpful. And that's what I really love about the community. Like for example, sometimes if somebody would ask me something or it's like a technical question I don't know the answer to, but thanks to the networking, I know somebody who does. And then you can really connect people. And like you said, with your customer or somebody who's like very well known with PowerShell. And if you have any questions. So yeah, that's indeed what I also meant to say. It's like it does not only stay to networking there and meeting new people, but it really gets you further. At least for me, it really got me further in my job or becoming a Microsoft MVP or knowing like which people can help me on which topic. So yeah, in general, I think it's a very important aspect.
Yeah, completely agree with that. So obviously, I know you're very much involved in the community, and so is your future husband as well. He's an ex-MVP.
He is. Yeah, he is. So, and then he became a Blue Badger. He joined Microsoft, so we had to hand in the MVP title. But he's part of the cloud advocacy team at Microsoft on the Azure engineering team. And indeed, you said future husband. He's my fiance. we're gonna get married. So yeah, we're both in the same scene, and I think that's also I think also in our relationship very nice to really understand each other's roles and each other's business, and also when whenever we have conferences, sometimes we're both at the same event, sometimes we're not, but we really understand like each other's schedule with traveling and everything, which I'm sure now that events get up and running and we're actually a family with a baby, that those travel schedules might change a bit. It will not be as flexible and easy as it was before, but I guess that's another challenge that we have to tackle and to learn. Like maybe you have any tips as parents how to how to handle.
Get it booked in as quick as possible, so it's in the calendar. So yeah, there's no confusion. It's there. That's where I'm going. That's what I'm doing.
Shared diaries, yeah.
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 The quicker it's booked in, the quicker it can't be changed. That's what I say.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I actually did recently when I was at the European Collaboration Summit in Düsseldorf, Germany, I brought my daughter with me. But then I also had my parents come over to Germany, and then they could take care of her while I was at the conference, and I could like after work still go back to being a mom. So that's how I combined it last time. But of course, I cannot every time when I have an event fly my parents in or have them available to be there. So we'll see how that goes.
So let's go back to the beginning really. So like, how did you get into the world of IT? What attracted you to becoming into a technical company and progressing the way you have?
Yeah, so that's actually very coincidental how I came into the IT world. I mean, many in my family are engineers, have IT background. So I was already as a kid very interested in computers, playing with computers, games, Prince of Persia, or but anyways,
that's a really old game. That is. I'm playing that one.
Now you can see how old I am, but no. I mean that So as a kid, I was always interested in technology. However, I also very much love teaching and working with children. So I was actually, during my studies of becoming a teacher, I was nanny for a lady who ran a software business. And then actually through being a nanny and a babysitter, I rolled into working with her as well for the company. And from there on, actually, I entered the IT world as I know it today with the whole community, was an ISV in the Netherlands. Also focused on add-ons for Microsoft Tech. So yeah, that's how I coincidentally actually rolled in. But immediately I just loved the whole the whole scene basically, and also going to my first conference, and all of it together, it really triggered my interest. And I kind of stayed, and from there I built up a network, and from there on, like my new jobs, they were always at IT companies, staying within the Microsoft community. And I also don't see myself leaving that fast. Never say never, because you never know what will come. But I do plan to stay within this wonderful community that we have.
So we've heard it all now, John. Obviously, we've heard of people going from pharmaceuticals into IT. Now we've got a nanny that's gone into IT as well. It's always different. It's always interesting. So we've heard so many different stories from people of how they got into IT, and that's just another one to add to our list.
It is very interesting. I mean, sometimes it's very easy how people got there. Sometimes they had some detours. Sometimes it's really by coincidence. But what I love to see, it's like once you're here, like most of the people we spoke to, they're here to stay, right? But like I said, you never know like where you're gonna go next. But it is what I think a very interesting field to be at.
I think that's something that I see is quite a clear difference between the males and females that are in IT actually. Is like you seem to find that a lot of the males, like a high percentage, they start in IT and carry on, whereas I think I say 99% of our guests so far have started in another career and then ventured over into IT, and then obviously at the moment stayed. Yeah. So I think that's quite a big difference. Quite like an eerie coincidence as well. Like it's quite similar across both spectrums.
Yeah, that's interesting when you indeed host your podcast, where I love how you really like spotlighting women like within Microsoft, within the community, within the MVP, and of course that you hear lots of different stories. And I haven't mentioned it in the beginning, but of course you quickly also mentioned Holly. So for those who are watching or listening and don't know what it was about, so together with Holly Lehman, who's the product marketing manager from Microsoft Teams at Microsoft in Seattle, US. We also run our own podcast video series called Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community, where basically, like you guys, right? We also have guests from all over the world joining us. And just like you mentioned, how you see like patterns between your guests, that's also something that I really love, to indeed get to know our guests more than just the job title you see on LinkedIn or the video they produce, but really to get to know like how did they get into tech, what are side hustles they have, and so on. So yeah,
we find there's a lot of the people spoke to from Microsoft love a bit of fashion. So we've had shoemakers from Microsoft, we've got Donna, who obviously loves to dress up and everything. Yeah. So like I think Microsoft could bring out their own clothing brand with employees.
yeah, indeed. Yeah, they could do so much. But like you said, and that's what I love to see, is like how many like of these side hustles people have that you would like not think of, or so that's pretty cool.
So how? Also, I want to ask a question before we move on to anything else. So how did that podcast with Holly come about? How did it, what initiated that conversation that we go, let's do this together? Because I know how this podcast started. I spoke to John about it at an interview, and then he harassed me for a year. So how did your podcast come about?
I would love to hear more of your story. So I'll first tell you mine, and then I really want to jump back and hear yours too. So yeah, basically how it started. So first, fun fact: Holly and I have never met, and we still have not met. So definitely one of our shows is going to be a live stream of the first time us flying, like either her coming here or me going there or a meeting at the conference. And we will make sure that first time we meet is on camera. But anyways, so it was, really at the start of the pandemic. And one of our mutual friends, Samuel Erskine, like he said, yeah, you two like really have to meet. You two would click so well. You have like the same interests and attend the same conferences and so on. However, we are of course stuck at home, so there was no opportunity for us to meet. However, we connected over Twitter, started chatting, and then at one point, so we challenged our other friends, Joey Snow and Rick Claus, also known as Patch and Switch. We also have a podcast. They both work at Microsoft. We kind of challenged them during one of their shows to do a TikTok movie, which still now, 2 years later, we're still challenging them to do a TikTok movie. So Patch or Switch, if you're watching now, we're still waiting for that. Nevertheless. So we challenged them to do that TikTok movie. And at one point we were like, okay, you know what if we do one, then we like make the first step, and then who knows, maybe they will reply back to us. So Holly and I did this ridiculous movie of us two dancing, like offbeat, and yeah, I don't know, like people were laughing, and we always say we don't know were they laughing with us, were they laughing at us. But doesn't matter, like people were laughing. And then we thought like, all right, if we can make people like give that smile, and at this horrible time of the pandemic that we're all in the same boat, like even if we're in different countries, different continents, we all know like what's going on currently. And yeah, from there on, then Holly actually asked like, hey, do you want to start a video series? And I was immediately like, yeah, why not? That would actually be a great idea to do that. And so that's how we started, really out of a ridiculous movie to being now recording 20 episodes and many more to come.
That's awesome.
So now,
So for us, so basically, I had the idea of doing a podcast a long time ago before I met John. But basically, it was to be called Spotlight at the time as well, where basically I was going to go and talk to different MVPs about how they got into the got into the MVP program. After a period of time, I left that idea and I said I didn't really think much more about it. But then as I carried on, like coming up towards the pandemic, I was like, okay, I'll think about doing this again. So then I went for an interview at John's company, CDW, and we got talking about, you know, what I've done in the past, events that I've basically hosted and ran. And I said, like, you know, in the future, I want to set up this podcast and start talking about, you know, doing different things. And from that was it really. I didn't expect to be anything more from that. And then I did my interview, wasn't successful, didn't join John's company, ended up joining Jiu-Jitsu. But then John was literally harassing me for like a whole year. And like, when you started this podcast, I went, not yet. And then every like month or so, I kept getting the odd message from John going, you know, when you started. And in the end, it was like, you know what, let's just do it. And initially, obviously, the podcast was more to focus on diversity, equality, inclusion across, you know, all spectrums, so male and female. But then when we started looking at getting guests on board, I thought we'll run a series first. We sort of start focusing on women in tech. But since obviously doing that, that's basically, you know, our bread and butter now. We just talk to obviously, you know, many different women across the globe about, you know, their careers, because obviously going through the pandemic and seeing how it's affected people and just having conversations with people, you know, it's taught me a hell of a lot about myself, a lot about other people and how they work. And it's just, you know, I just want to continue doing what we're doing now because it is massively interesting. And I just hope that, you know, someone listens to one of these episodes, gets inspiration, and then, you know, goes and progresses in their career.
Yeah, that's great. And do you, because we hope one day, of course, we started this in the pandemic, doing it virtually. We actually hope one day that we can actually do these series like in person, to really sit in a room with that person to record. Is that also something that you are looking forward to do, or you like this format of being virtual?
Yeah, we've recently got some more equipment and stuff, so we can start to do some videos and stuff more remotely. So it's in our plans. Maybe I think one of our ideas is when there's like a conference or something like that, go and just like do a live conference, do a live podcast at a conference and stuff. So. Yeah, that's just one of the ideas, but I don't think Andrew lives up in Birmingham. I live in Kent, so it would quite far for it to be a regular thing. So, but it'll be nice to do a couple in person, sit around, have a drink and chat. Because sometimes the best conversations are when you've had a wee drink.
Yeah, I say like when I obviously started my MVP route, you know, I got basically drunk and I had fancy running a user group for me, and that was it then. I started running my own user groups, ran a conference, and that all become because I got drunk one day. So if you have the best ideas, always come out when you're drunk. That's what I say. But yeah, I mean, well, obviously doing this podcast in person as well. I want to try and run like a conference as well, purely focused on women in tech. Whether that's, you know, delivering sessions about soft skills, or, you know, how, you know, you can benefit in doing presenting as well. So there is ideas there, definitely. It's just obviously once the world opens up a little bit more, then we'll start looking at, you know, doing them in-person things. And I say we just started running a user group as well.
Like I think it's our first episode since we've done our user group. So we started doing a user group, and it was back on the 16th of February. We got another one on the 18th of May, 18th of May. 18th of May. Coming up, so we got two really great speakers with that. And again, with the user group, we're not solely focusing on women in tech in this. So what we're going to try to do is be more diverse, try to get as many different types of people, different types of background, just speaking about either tech, soft skills, as Andrew just kind of said earlier. But next step after that will hopefully be like an in-person event, one day, 2-day event.
Yeah, like Andrew indeed just said, and you also, I think also what I see more and more is at like the deep tech events, like for example, Ignite or Build or any other conference or community event or user group, which are very much focused on our technical community and technical breakout sessions, that they're also including more and more soft skills sessions, which I think are as important as the real deep technical sessions, right? And also makes an event, like you said, I also think it really makes it more diverse, because you also attract also different audience. Like for me, for example, a conference where it's only deep technical, like level 400, 500, very deep, and demos, Yeah, that would maybe not attract me as much as if I know, like, okay, there's also soft skill sessions which could be interesting for me to attend. And then of course you bring those worlds which are still in the IT world, but you bring them together. So I really think it's very important that when you do an event to have that mix and have that combination of soft skills as well as also deep technical sessions.
Yeah, as you said, it just brings out different people. Don't have to be technical, like coding. Don't have to be within tech. It might just be people who want to pick up a skill which is relatable. So yeah, I think it just opens the platform up a lot more to a lot more people.
Absolutely, and to learn from each other, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what community is about, right?
Absolutely.
Obviously, one of the things I want to do as well, I mean, I've submitted a session, hopefully it's successful, to go to the Sharepoint, European Sharepoint conference,
yeah.
And obviously deliver a session there about, women in tech, what we can do, how we can support people. Because we did a similar thing in the UK at South Coast Summit. It was well received. There was a lot of people in the room from male and female backgrounds. Like, one male basically stood up and went, how can I help? What can I do? And just having that conversation,
I think it's very good for you as allies to also really showcase not just us saying like, hey, we need more diversity, or hey, we need more inclusion and break the bias, which was the hashtag now for International Women's Day, or last year it was hashtag Each for Equal. But of course, we also need allies like you who actually stand there on that stage and also want to make that difference and present that. So I really hope your session gets accepted, also because then we will meet in person, because I will be there. Our company Experts Inside is sponsoring the event, so we will have a booth there. I will be there in person. So
and I just would like to trip to Copenhagen. That's what I'm after.
I've never been before, so I'm very excited to see a new place in Europe.
Andrew basically went out and went, where can I go on a European trip where I can
just to get away for a little bit.
Try to get work to pay for it. Know your game, Andrew. But yeah, I mean, conferences like that are amazing, especially getting different people about, and also in a different country. I mean, I think we've done quite a few of them now in the UK. We've done the South Coast Summit. We spoke at a few events online and stuff. So yeah, it'd be great to get to a different country and kind of like share why we're doing it. Really, I think that's kind of
the day. This message is not just UK based. It's it's everyone. Everyone has to basically support and provide a platform for people to share their stories and have equal opportunities. Definitely across the board. So obviously we spoke a bit about your past. Let's talk about a bit more about your present. So the events that you're involved in.
Yeah.
When's the next one coming up? Is it soon?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So to be fairly completely honest with you, at the moment we have nothing in the pipeline planned, of course, because of the current pandemic situation, the political situation, the current times. For now, we did not have the opportunity to really say, okay, now it's safe and now we can go. However, now that I see that countries are opening up again, and the rules and regulations, the measurements are being let go, or at least getting easier. I'm sure for every country that's different, and that's also what makes it challenging. For example, for Experts Live Europe, which is the European edition, and we have attendees coming from 40, 50 different countries. That maybe the country where we host it at, maybe there it can be very easy in terms of the measurements. But if it's not for the rest of Europe or not for the rest of the world, it's very difficult, of course, to get people from so many different countries, as well as your speakers and your sponsors.
I think you just need to host it in the UK. I don't think we haven't got any restrictions at the moment, I don't think.
You say that, John. Obviously, we went to South Coast Summit, and obviously Scottish Summit had to move their date because of restrictions. Not quite being the same, even though obviously we are the British Isles, the Scottish government and the UK government have completely different views on COVID. So unfortunately, Scottish Summit had to move their date to June this year.
Yeah, they're now in June, and that's exactly the scary thing, that when you plan it, it's not just moving a date. I'm sure they had lots of hassle to get the exact same
Hotels,
speakers they
everything. Yeah.
had to get them to the new date and possibly a new venue location. I'm not sure if they changed that, but and same for your sponsors, right? If they committed, like, okay, we're available or we have budget for that period, and then you move it to like another time. I mean, it's a big challenge, and that's also a risk. So yeah, I do hope that 2023 will be the year that we're gonna be back with at least that I will be back with organizing events, and yeah, I really cannot wait to that moment because I really miss it.
Yeah, I mean, I've just signed up to volunteer at the South Coast Summit as well, which is another the one we done last year. So I've volunteered for that, and obviously got Commonsverse coming up, and there's quite a few in the UK now, which is good, I guess. So yeah, like hopefully the rest of Europe, like kind of
it's a start. They're popping up in different countries, so that's a good sign. And yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, so I do miss my European tour. I used to speak at what's it called now? Office 365 Engage in Haarlem in Amsterdam. Yeah, that was a good conference to go and speak at, because Haarlem was a great place to go and visit. Such a nice area of Amsterdam.
So, like, one of the questions that we sent over to you, and it's like one of the questions we send to most of our guests, is kind of like challenges you face being a woman in tech, and you put just inequality. So, like, not being from a coding background, as you said earlier, and focus purely on community, you would like to think that the community are more accepting of different people, of the different genders and stuff like that. Like, are you still seeing a lot of inequality in the work that you do day to day?
So let's say in the current role I am today, I'm very happy to see that I'm being treated equally, even though it's still a male-dominated world. I mean, we cannot hide that fact. It just is like that. So let's say the role where I am today within Experts Insight, I love to see how, because that's also a male-dominated company, how accepted I am and how equal I am to like the others. But I have been faced in previously where it's not that case, right? Where I've not been treated equally as my male colleagues, for example. And yeah, I just really want to also now, in line also with International Women's Day, to break that bias and to call that out. That's also one of the things with this International Women's Day, which is not just on the 8th of March. I think it's important every day of the year also that we educate our future generation and the younger girls, and like the mistakes or what I learned from that, I can really bring that over to my daughter or any other younger girls who are getting into the IT or in any work industry. I just think it's very important that we really keep on fighting and striving for that equal world where it's not even a topic anymore, right? Where it's just standard, where it's normal, and where we're as included as any other person. So it's very important.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something I tried to raise on my LinkedIn yesterday, and obviously I mentioned earlier I've got a 2-year-old daughter, and like, for me, it's just about trying to do what I can, even though it's going to be a tiny drop in the ocean, really, to like, for when she's older, like she's not restricted to, and she can be whatever she wants to be and whoever she wants to be when she's growing older. So that's kind of like really like my driver, like towards it, to make sure like my daughter and granddaughters and everyone else, like when they're older, that bias isn't there anymore. So it's great, like, people listening to this, we are the day after International Women's Day, so that's the context of what we're talking about.
And so the whole of March, I'm literally posting every day an episode from everyone we've basically spoken to. In support of International Women's Day. I mean, just to continue raising that awareness.
Yeah, what I also really, really appreciate about you too, you don't just think about that one day per year, right? The International Women's Day. You like you said, you do a whole March, or even you do a whole year, right? You do those Microsoft Spotlight episodes. And I just want to say I really appreciate you being allies and everything you do for that very important topic, and that you don't hide behind a shield because it's maybe awkward to talk about, or you don't really know like, oh, what can we do, or but like you really try and you succeed and you ask for help. And even if like for people who are now watching or listening and they're like, yeah, but I don't really know what to do, then just ask. Right? We don't bite. Ask, how can I help? What can I do? Or like you said now, like, yeah, the entire month of March, I will be promoting the amazing women you had previously on your podcast. But like you said, it doesn't stay there. You will, the rest of the year, you will also keep having them on the show. So thanks for that.
I think one of the biggest things as well, obviously, because we're sharing people's stories, they're timeless. They're never going to change. You know, it's always about how they got into the role of IT. You know, say if we were talking about tech, then it could be out of date very quickly. But because we're talking to obviously real people about their experiences, the challenges they faced in life, that information, this episode will be number 30 by the time it goes out, and every single one of them episodes from day one all the way up to present day will still be valid in 3, 4, 5 years time, because people's stories ain't going to change. The way they got into IT isn't going to change. So, I think we're still having this conversation. I've said to John many times, I'll probably sat here, with my pipe and slippers, with lots of grey hair everywhere, still doing the episodes. Because
no, but like you said, you hope that people walk away and feel inspired. And I truly hope the same for me, who was like has not like a coding background or didn't like study to go into IT, that like literally from studying being a teacher, coming here, that's an inspiration for younger girls or boys or whoever wants to get into the IT field. You don't need to follow that perfect path, like, oh, I like first do a study and then from there go into IT. And yeah, you can get there with detours or with different backgrounds. And like you said, I truly hope that even my story will inspire somebody, even if it's just one person, then that's already a mission accomplished to at least, yeah.
Because obviously, if you look at your story, you're working within the community. You're also a young mother as well, and you're still doing your day-to-day job, and still doing all your community stuff as well, which obviously a big challenge and a big commitment. Because it takes obviously a lot of time. Obviously, all three of us know on this call how much time it takes up. Obviously, given a part time in the day, evenings, to just do a tweet, just to do a recording, editing, all that kind of stuff. So being able to obviously do that in your, as well as your day job, and obviously your job as a mother as well, is, massive really, and it basically shows that people can do it.
Oh, absolutely. And I hope, that's also an inspiration to others that it is possible to combine everything. And like you said, like doing a recording, for example, we are on similar, I think we're just 1 hour apart. So for us, it's easy to schedule. But for example, with Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community,
with my
co-host,
I was going to say, like, that must be so hard to do.
She's 9 hours behind. And like when we have like, I don't know, we had like a guest, Jess from Australia, and then try to find somebody who's based in Australia with somebody who's in Europe and somebody in Seattle, without having somebody get up in the midst of the night or having to give up family time. So yeah, I mean, that's something that has become a bit more challenging now, right? Because with Holly, we just have to do our recordings for my time in the evening, because otherwise, I will not make Holly wake up at like 3 a.m. to do a recording. So yeah, that's something that's a bit more challenging, and I just have to ensure that to find ways to still make that happen, and which we do. So I'm very happy about that. So
that one with Holly we recorded about 10 p.m. weren't it, our time?
Yeah, 10 p.m. Yeah.
And we got
another one tonight, 10 p.m. as well.
10:30 tonight.
Yeah.
I told my wife, and she was like, "Oh, you're gonna come to bed late."
What we need to try and do is try and find a guest in Australia, John, and try and work around that time zone. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it gets very interesting. So for me, if it would be 10:30 p.m., I think now I would probably just be like, no. That would be
we're gonna need some energy tonight, I think.
get
another coffee, get some Red Bull, and
So what does the future hold for Isidora and a working career, and what she wants to achieve? Obviously, I can see behind you, you've got obviously an MVP plaque. So how long do you see yourself being a part of that program? You know, what else do you want to do in your career? Do you have any goals, aspirations?
Many. So which one? Yeah, for example, like you said, you see the MVP behind me. So it's definitely my goal to keep on doing as much as I can in the community, share as much as I can, be involved, organize conferences in the future where I can really bring talents, attendees, sponsors, speakers, people, community, everybody together, to meet each other, to learn, to network, share knowledge, and everybody, for all of us to become better in our day-to-day jobs, in our lives. So being an MVP, staying an MVP, that's definitely one of the goals I want to achieve over and over again. I wanted to say until I retire, but even after I retire, I still want to be an MVP. No, well, of course, that's also something, it's not that you can decide to be, right? I mean, you know, being an MVP, you can also not say, how do you become one? It's not a path that you can follow and then you become one. You really need Microsoft to see you and to award you. So it's really something that you have to fight for not fight, but work for over and over again to be awarded. So it's not just a checklist that you tick off and then it's done and then you get renewed. So
I've mentioned many times, like John and Sophie, who also joins on the calls, there is no straight path to be an MVP, because I've done it, held it for 3 years. My route is basically blogging and hosting events. There's other people that I worked with, they've basically written books and got MVP status that way. So there is no set way of becoming an MVP. You just have to literally just throw yourself deep into the community and just basically get to know people, start networking, and then obviously just showing that passion. And then obviously people then obviously knows what that person knows they're talking about. And obviously now how MVP program works. When I've joined it, you can actually nominate yourself. But obviously now you have to be, nominated by a Microsoft employee or another MVP. So it's hard work. I know that, and so I've been nominated again. So I'm filling out the form, which is obviously the biggest nightmare in the world, filling out the form. But it's all good fun.
Yeah, definitely. And then, speaking of Head in the Cloud, Heart in Community, our video series, it's definitely my goal to have that in-person recording, to meet Holly in person, and to do our podcast indeed at conferences, or that we travel together, which we now do virtually, but to actually really do that in person. So that's definitely one of the goals I also have.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to meet all our guests. And obviously, as we keep going, this list is getting longer and longer.
Yeah.
all the guests that we're speaking to. I've met most of the UK-based people, but obviously there's quite a number of people based in obviously around the world that we haven't met yet. So.
Yeah, we met a fair few at South Coast Summit, and I met a few at Commonsverse as well. So it's good. Like, don't expect people to recognise you either. Like, it's quite weird. Like, you go in, you just don't know.
Yeah.
You recognise them. You're like, did they recognise me? Like.
I had the same when I was at the European Collaboration Summit, and there were people, and I just could not remember, like, do I know you because I know you because I met you in person, or do I just know you because I follow you on Twitter and I'm like, you're very active and I see your tweets and your photos, and like, have we actually met in person or have we only met virtually? I think that will in the near future definitely happen more often, that you're just not sure, like, have you met, or do we just know from Twitter, or
And so touch wood, hopefully, Microsoft bring back the actual in-person MVP summit, because obviously that's a great way of meeting people, networking. Because I know when I went, there's so many people that I spoke to over Twitter. It's like, oh, there's a face to a name, and obviously then getting drunk at the MVP summit and doing bits of
so I became an MVP in the year that there was no in-person summit, and now the second year it's again a virtual event. So I truly hope that next year in 2023, I just had to check. Sometimes I feel that March last year was 2020. I just have a feeling that 2021 just didn't exist.
Yeah.
That we just jumped from, the pandemic started last year in March, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's a whole year in between. But
so this month literally marks my 2-year anniversary of being at Fujitsu, and I've been to the office once for my actual initial interview and once to basically collect a laptop because my laptop blew up. So I've not actually been anywhere else, traveling, working. I've just basically been here in my little home office, obviously doing these podcast recordings and obviously doing my work. So it's quite mad.
What I really love about Experts Inside, where I work now, is that so even before the pandemic, they did not have an office. So they all work remotely, and they believe that if you want to have the best talents on your team, they don't always live like nearly like close where your office is, right? So if you really want to have like the best people on your team, you have to get them from different corners in the country or maybe even outside of the country. So having a physical office with people living just in that area, you would really limit yourself. So even before the whole home office scene, they always worked remotely. But then what we do is every 3 months we have a get together with the team, which can be anywhere in Europe, to still have that feeling of being a team, right? And seeing each other in person. And of course, in between like customer projects or people who live nearby, we also see each other. But I'm very excited for our next event to get together again with the whole team. So how about you, Andy? Did you even meet the people
I've
you
met
work
my
with
line,
on a
I've
daily
met my line
basis?
manager once since joining because he lives locally. That's it. I met no one else.
Yeah. I've been into the office a few times, to be fair. Like I've been into the office quite a few times. It closed again in December, but reopened last month. But I'm going back next week. I think I'm going next week. Got a really silly idea what I want to do now with like my computer setup as well. Like now, if I'm going here and there, I'm going to buy myself a Raspberry Pi, the 400 with the keyboard. And just have that, and might get a display or something, and then just take that keyboard around and connect to like Windows 365 or Azure Virtual Desktop or something. I don't know. I'm still deciding what thin client I'm going to use it as a thin client and stuff. So that's going to be kind of a stupid idea I've got. I'm going to play around with.
Gotta try it out. Yeah, I've been this week actually. I went for the first time. So here at Microsoft Switzerland, they opened a new office in the Circle, which is at the airport in Zurich. Definitely worth a visit if you're ever in the area. Of course, let me know. I'll be happy to show you around. But yes, I went to check out the new office, and it just felt so good to be out there again and to see people again and to have that feeling of spontaneously having a coffee someone and grabbing lunch together. And that was very nice to see people again in person in that office environment. But at the same time, I'm also very happy with my home office. I really if you can see my background.
Yeah, I'm loving the background. I need to work out. I need to sort my background out and stuff like that.
It's well organised.
Yeah,
it's nice. I have my own room with my office, and I really worked on getting better equipment, like getting microphones and getting lighting. Of course, having an own podcast, that's also how you learn and evolve. And I'm sure you also noticed that so many people out there like started looking for what are good cameras, what are good microphones, what's a good setup, what monitor. And I actually hosted how did I call it? I think the Working From Home Office Awards, where people could submit their home offices. So how they created their home office, how their setup looks like, but also how their background looks like. And it was really cool. I received, I think, over 100 people submitting. So definitely go to my website. I can share the link on isidorakatanic.com to get some inspiration with photos.
Yeah, I should have ended up recently just getting like a really long desk. So I've got a desk, this side is like my bit, and then next to it I've got like a little PlayStation area where I normally pick up my son from school, and then he just sits and plays in the PlayStation. Or if I want to go over there for a cheeky lunch break, if I want to go for a cheeky lunch break, I'll be over there.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been amazing to have you, Isidora. Anyway, like it's really great conversation. So yeah, thanks for coming on. And yes, I'll see everybody at the next Microsoft Spotlight podcast.
Thank you very much,
guys. Yeah, thanks very much for having me as a guest.
Thank you for listening to the Microsoft Spotlight podcast. Please make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button to help us promote our message. You can also follow us on Twitter at MSFT Spotlight, and we're also on LinkedIn, the Microsoft Spotlight Podcast. And finally, we'd like to tell you a little bit about BitTitan and thank them for sponsoring this podcast.
Remote migrations start here. Let Migration Wiz do the work for you. It's fast, secure, and 100% SaaS, which means you can migrate at any time and from anywhere. Migrate mailboxes, documents, public folders, personal archives, or even Microsoft Teams with just a few clicks. No special training needed and no customer downtime. When the work matters, choose Migration Wiz.